talked about gas prices specifically, but the impact could go beyond that.
Russia is the second largest exporter of oil and gas. Oil pushed $100 a barrel on the global markets. Experts predict prices could jump quickly.
Dennis, you're bullish gold. Where does gold go from here?
Probably higher. It's moving from the lower left to the upper right. It probably will continue to move higher. And there are times when one is to be bullish of gold. There are times when one is to be bearish of gold. And there are times when one is to be neutral of gold.
I don't save dollars. I mean, since I don't need dollars because I use debt, so my thinking is opposite. But I save gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And the reason is gold and silver are God's money. Bitcoin is people's money. But more specifically, gold, silver, and Bitcoin are not controlled by the Fed or U.S. Treasury.
I think it's absolutely incumbent to understand that the Federal Reserve Bank has said that they intend to abandon quantitative easing, which has been, I think, overdone for a long period of time. The fact that the Fed took its balance sheet from $8 billion to $9 trillion over the course of the decade is inflationary and expansionary. There were times when they had to do what they had to do. Expanding reserves back in 2007, 8, and 9 was wise. Expanding reserves last year with COVID was wise. But they probably overstayed their term in office. And they've made it abundantly clear that beginning in March, they will end quantitative easing and begin the process slowly of quantitative tightening. They've taken the fuel away from the bull market in equities, which has been, that I think has been the great sponsor of the bull market for the past year and a half or two. And that fuel is being rescinded. I think it's overdue. I think it's long past time.
I'm a very simple man. Like I said, I don't trust Janet Yellen. I don't trust Biden. I don't trust Kamala. I don't trust Fauci. But I do trust gold and silver. I have been to the top of the Andes looking for gold in these mines. I've been to Mongolia, chasing this place called the Checkerboard, looking for gold and silver. I still own a silver mine in Argentina. And I just bought into one of the largest gold mines in the world in Utah. So I am in the mining side. So people, are you into mining stock? I said, no, I'm into ownership. There's a difference. The reason I don't trust mining stock is because it's a stock. I want the real thing. I mean, I'm pretty hard-headed and hard-assed.
The problem is that as we learn over time, inflation is always and everywhere a monetary phenomenon. And there's a 2 to 3 year lag between the growth of the monetary aggregates, the growth of the Fed's balance sheet, and when inflation occurs and how long it continues. The process of engendering even higher prices for gold over the course of the next several years. So gold is now above $1,900 an ounce. Can it go to $2,200, $2,300, $2,300 an ounce over the course of the next 2 or 3 years? The answer to that is yes.
Good early afternoon. T-Speaker 222 XRP Future Millionaire with the side bet on XLM and Future Digibyte OG. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I reside in the great state of Michigan, and I hope you like that intro. That beginning 45 seconds to a minute is going to be a common theme. Hope you enjoyed the Robert Kiyosaki. Hope you enjoyed the eye-opening and what's to come, and not me saying it. I want you guys to understand the ISO compliant coins, and I had to find a strategic way to do it. So I think that's a great way to open some eyes for anybody who hasn't done it. And yes, you're going to have to hit the pause button because I'm not going to play it as long as the opening video. So I just kind of cut it a little bit so that it would show it all, but not have the lag in between as it showed each of the coins. So you'll have to pause it to read everything it says, except for the opening, because I wanted everybody to understand the ISO implementation into August. So with that being said, I think that's one of the best openings on YouTube in relation to the ISO and crypto in general. So let's see, Bitcoin 39,096, up 367, up 0.95%. We're so wound up right now We just can't seem to get over the 20-day. In the 4-hourly time frame, we got rejected by it earlier, but we're still in this 4-hour segment. It's coming, you know, halfway to this candle. We did have a engulfing candlestick to the upside, so that's good. But we look at that wick pull down. That's not a good sign. You don't want to see wick pull downs like this. That's a lot of sell pressure. A lot. Crashing price, rising volume, but then we had a sudden tick, you know, but the volume had a little bit of a rise, but it came back down, so that tells me a lot of that was sell pressure. So with Bitcoin, we're looking at 38,915 support. We break that, we have 38,084 roughly from an old previous stopping point, and then if we don't hold that, it's 37,202. And we can still maintain the integrity of this pattern at 37,202. It would ease up the RSI in some of the shorter time frames and bring it down here if we were to get a drop down here. So it might make it easier to pump up and maybe hit a double top. But I think 45,000 could still be in play here. It's just, there's a lot of things that are going on right now. So I decided to clear that. And because sometimes it can get confusing, and I can understand that. So the only things that matter right now, because people are like, what the hell matters with Bitcoin? I don't care about all the rest. 37,202. That 38,256 area. We've got this incredibly important area right here with the 20-day right here at 39,105 that you really want to stay over. But right here, actually, I'm gonna actually. This can be brought off into two sections because there's a 32,000 or 38,500, but I'd rather just go by this area right here, about 38,000. And then above, we've got, very simple, we got to break 40,219. If we were to maintain 39,000, we would have to immediately get over 39,442. But I'd rather just stay up here in these time frames. 40,313. You get on top of that in the 200-day, then we can talk business. Other than that, I mean, from February 29th, 28th, the 2nd, we're creating a downtrend, and it's noticeable. So unless we can break these tops, this is a noticeable downtrend forming. And a lot of people say it's a ascending triangle. I tend to disagree here. If this continues as such, wouldn't this be a descending triangle? Because... or it could just be a down channel, because you could play this a couple different ways with Bitcoin. If we start here and just come across, you know, from the drop point, we just come across. I don't know where people, I mean, I can see a descending triangle, descending resistance, stabilized support. I can't say that we could go across and just say, I've seen some people's charts where it looks like this, and I don't get it, because the drop point right here where we started the up, we came back down and tested that same support, so that would be confirmation. You can't just go to this and say, oh, we're on an uptrend. That doesn't work, and that's what a lot of people on YouTube look like, Hayden. That doesn't work. You can't just break an uptrend out right there when we were using this symmetrical as support. We broke out to resistance, verified support. Now you can't just say we went to an uptrend. You can't just skip the pattern. Now we're on resistance, mid-tier level of strong support in the area. And now if we drop back down, we hit here. You can't just say, though, that we've cut it off and now this is where the uptrend started. If you were going to do that, you would have to go back here. And this is what I don't understand when people do this. You would just simply go back here and say, hey, this is the decided uptrend, and it's something like that. And then you could say, okay, so you're not saying anything. So the downtrend's going to meet right there. So you could say the pattern has to hit there, and we could have another retest up top, right? You could say this could come up. This is the uptrend, and it just happens that a symmetrical triangle formed in that right here, and you could keep it symmetrical like this. But it's not an ascending triangle. This is not an ascending triangle, unless you're playing this part of the pattern. But you can't just start it right here where the pattern started up. So if we bring it out to here, February 24th, we can say it's ascending, descending resistance. You know, we had a little bit of a point here where we're not exactly sure. We just consolidated. But I want to say it starts in here, because we started down here, but we never came back down and tested the support. So if we're saying we're in a symmetrical, I'd be more comfortable starting on February 27th when we came up to the 28th, or I mean the 2nd, and finished this topping, came down on March 8th, came back up on March 10th, and now would I be surprised if we came back down on March 12th, 13th, right here, I mean? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised if it buckled and came into here. I'd be surprised if it just went up here, because if it does this, it's just going to get rejected and it's come right back down anyhow. I think this pattern's kind of set up for, if it gets rejected 3 times, it could fall through. And then this would play out. And then I think it lends credence to this. If you want to play that uptrend right there, I think you're going to end up coming down here and find yourself in a world of hurt. Because I think the pattern would eventually give way. And it would end up something like this on Bitcoin. I think this pattern would give way because you got the resistance, right? But you're using this as support and using this uptrend. So if it breaks the uptrend, it likely is coming up here gathering too much resistance on 3 peaks. And then it's going to come right through here and have to use the bigger support. Because if you're using the uptrend support and it breaks through the uptrend, it's got to come back to where it started. And this uptrend started right there at 34,322. So nobody really wants it to come back there if you're in a position. So I would keep your eye on the symmetrical at 37,132. These are 2 completely different patterns that can play out here. So just remember, if you start from back here and you break this uptrend, you're coming down here according to that logic. If you're using the symmetrical and it hits this again, you know, it is what it is, but you'd expect it to come down here first before it made another retest after a fail up here, because we keep proving that this is downtrending resistance. So that's Bitcoin. XRP, under the same logic, we're going to get rid of all of this. Get rid of it all. Just for now, we can redo the drawings later, because everybody needs to get on the same page, and everybody is starting to get used to my lines. So now it's time. If you're using this as an uptrend, we're going to do the same logic. If this is being used as an uptrend, right? So you're saying that this is coming through here and this pattern is going to continue up. But we've got to find a spot where this would meet. So to me, we could come farther back and say, okay, we got an uptrend starting here. It pulls out like this, but that could be a wick through. So we can do it like that. And then you can come out with XRP and you can go like this. This is a scenario you can play out. You've already got confirmations. And this would be your up channel. This would be an ascending triangle on XRP, not Bitcoin. So I want you guys to see the differences. So that's XRP. It's ascending triangle, which means we're almost done with this pattern. Notice we've got confirmation all the way up, confirmation on the way down. Now, there is one other way you could spin this pattern. And it's interesting, but it's going to be hard because I think XRP is on this kind of an uptrend in the 4-hourly with that downsloping resistance. And until it breaks, we don't have to come back into the consolidation area unless this breaks. If it breaks, because we were saying the uptrend started here, XRP would have a lot of work to do if this breaks. XRP a lot more work than most. Okay? So it would say if this breaks, and I'm going to be generous here and I'm not going to let it hit the, well, that's about the full effect. But that 54.8 if this breaks the uptrend, which means if it breaks the uptrend, XRP would in fact, you could go like this, and XRP starting an actual downtrend, right? And we could be in something like this. The pattern actually could have been here and it stopped, and now we're in an extension phase, and if we can break out and get above, we're good. If we don't break out, we're going to end up falling in between this inside-out wedge, and these are dangerous spots when this happens. So if XRP breaks down and it retests this, it's going to come back down here. Conversely, if it gets topside of this, you're good. So when everybody's telling you what's going on YouTube, make them break down their chart and restart it. Explain it from the bottom. This is exactly what's going on in the time period we're in. So this is what you need to pay attention to. XRP had a premature breakout. And now we got rejected by a down-sloping symmetrical triangle, which if we're on this pattern, we should come back down and hit 72 cents, it's trying to say. But if we break out of this pattern, it's time to break up. So then you can go, okay, well, what does that mean? Well, if we're starting some kind of new channel here, right, this is your channel you're in until you break it. So that's what you're looking at with XRP. No more, no less. Write that down. And if it breaks it, you're screwed. XRP Future Millionaire, I'll come back later and do this for XLM and DGB. Stay blessed, everybody.